Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and in this episode I'm making another attempt to work on the hardest painting of my whole life. The Black Widow. It's about the mysterious figure of a pregnant mother that is feeding raw meat to her very twisted children, of which there are 1,000. The story is implying that the Black Widow gets pregnant from different men, then killing them and feeding their meat to the children. Cool. I started working on this almost 2 years ago now, and on this channel we went through about 4 giant versions, but this time I decided to work smart and put an end to this ordeal. Okay, look, I don't know. I just looked at the latest version we worked on, and I realized I'm just not gonna finish it, because it's bad. Or not good enough. I don't know. Instead of restarting the artwork every time, I really should just dedicate one session to just quick restarting several times on the sketch/thumbnail stage, without stupidly wasting a lot of time on the versions that are not that good. Make sense? I hope so. This is what I have set up, so pretty much there's a layer with rectangles. We're working in Corel Painter. I figured out how to set up the brushes. Well, first of all, we'll have a normal kind of pencil right here that works just lovely. And most importantly, I created just the right kind of brush preset for the flat, this opacity control kind of thing that lets you search silhouettes with spots real fast. So these are the 2 brushes I'm gonna be working with today. And before we start, Corel contacted me after my free, not paid for review of Corel Painter 2021, and I asked them to provide you guys with a discount, since the main issue I noticed in the comments was about the price. So if you go through the link in the description and apply this code, you will get a $100 discount for Corel Painter 2021. So those are some good promotional news. Now let's get started. I did this quick sketch yesterday, I think. I've been searching for more interaction between characters. In all the previous versions, characters just stand next to each other, rarely even touching each other at all. So why not go with a bit of a different feel, a bit of a different language between the characters in their poses? You know, like hellish scene where everyone is on top of everyone kind of thing. Kids really rushing to get the meat, and maybe even like the widow is raised from the ground, something like that. A lot of stuff to search here, so thumbnails. Alright, let's call this an idea number 1. A really strong angle from the bottom, and we're actually seeing a lot of the ceiling, but I assume like that ceiling is gonna be pretty much black. It's gonna be like a thing that it's black, and the widow's figure is much brighter on that background, and since this is like the very middle of it, I guess it makes sense that it will remain more or less blank, like nothing too close to the widow herself, making this very good focal point for the Black Widow to stand out. I really like that idea. Don't really like that kid right now, like maybe rethink some stuff in here a bit. I just thought I really needed at least one kid really close to the camera, because otherwise we're having the same problem we had before, where there's no real perspective on the kids. They're all like far enough, and that's not very correct with strong perspectives and whatever. So I'm trying to fill this up a bit. Not perfect black on that ceiling as I think of it. It should be like in the air perspective. There's a lot of really bright windows, so they're letting in a lot of this light that will light up the thick air in the room. So let's say this is the darkest color, it will be there. And we'll use that to be able to show kids somehow, because their heads are completely black. We gotta have something. Let's have a bit of a gradient closer to the windows, like making that aerial perspective much stronger. And as we go lower in here as well, so generally the direction of this main gradient will be from dark, almost black in here, to much brighter gray in here. I don't know how many versions I'll be able to do today, but I'm promising myself that it should be at least 3 really thought through versions. Like, I'll continue the next day for this episode if it takes that, but yeah, we need to really explore. Okay, so the picture is that dark. Now we need something to be really bright. Pretty much everything else should be really bright, but she has a black dress, what you gonna do? Okay, it's kind of looking interesting actually. And even though the dress is completely black, the material may be pretty reflective and we're getting a pretty strong angle here too. So it actually justifies having some kind of outline on the dress. As I look at it, I would play a lot with aerial perspective. Like, I'll add maybe actual shape, some kind of there's so many people in one room. It's a really big room of an orphanage, but just so many people. It's probably really hard to breathe in that place. Yeah, let's add some kind of marking for the bucket. Alright, I drew some stuff into the sketch. This happens a lot with me now because I'm so used to just painting in one layer and that's it. Maybe like this, maybe a lot more kids somewhere like that, like little sheeps on the ceiling. But yeah, I would say this is a variant. I didn't really commit to the whole aerial perspective thing, as I said before. But yeah, a little bit stronger around the widow. That's something I like doing. I guess you can call it my style, to highlight characters a bit like this. And we have such a perfect situation for that in here. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it doesn't show all that much of kids, but it definitely shows that there is a whole lot of them. It shows the place, the atmosphere, and most importantly, showing the widow well. Actually might like this version quite a lot. One thing though, I didn't really do the idea I mentioned in the beginning of this video with a lot of interaction of bodies of characters. So something I did in here, kind of, with this version, but this was a very boring angle, so not really a thing. It was just a quick idea note. And this is a proper sketch, I would say. It really captures the idea, but we just have a bunch of characters standing separately again, which is not a disaster, but I want to try. I want to try to really have them do this hellish dance with each other, crawling on top and whatever. Nah, the chandelier doesn't really work here. First of all, orphanage. Secondly, yeah, it's not gonna help anybody if it's gonna be just hanging here, right next to the very important focal point. I guess we can do some more kids here, but I don't even know. You should have like a nest of sort of with a spider web in here, and when there's just a bunch of them. How about that idea? How about that idea? I'm really liking this right now, but as I zoomed out and looked at this version, it's kind of cool. And we could add that kind of nest in here as well. Also, I'm not sure about the shape of it in here. I feel like this is the kind of thing that's much better to search in color, like in abstraction, because it can be anything and it's really about the light and shadow and whatever. So yeah, that's a good space for it. It will be in aerial perspective, so not too high contrast, mostly like a hint. So at first, with really high contrast, would drag attention of the viewer here, and then they notice this stuff. Maybe not so separately, like maybe it keeps going in here as well, so it wouldn't feel so like she's on the left, this stuff on the right. But yeah, I want to search this in spots like this right now as well. maybe the widow is too close to the top edge of the screen. Let's actually just move her. Maybe scale her down, because again, we're looking from the bottom to the top. Yeah, something like that. Alright, we got ourselves a little bit of an extra composition right here that works, I think, pretty. So I thought it would be cool to add like some sort of spider web or whatever. We can play around with what it is. Some kind of ectoplasm hanging from that nest, and we'll show like a strong perspective with it, even though it's not that strong in this version, but still pretty cool, maybe even better. And we get to show kids not just sprayed all over the walls and the ceiling, which is really boring because since the room is big, all the walls and ceiling are far away, so all the kids in the distance are really small. And this way we get to play with the distances. So this kid is pretty close, that one's a bit further away. We get to cascade into the background with a lot of aerial perspective, game and lighting and everything. This is really cool. And we're free to choose how much of the actual initial room we can see and how much it's devoured by the nest. I think it's really cool, and I really can't find a reason for this not to work with the initial concept of the Black Widow. I think it's really awesome. Because really, if we take away the nest and try to work with whatever we had before, really it's just a very messed up on the head mother and a lot of really dirty kids. That's it. And the nest really makes it something special. Gives the kids a reason to crawl all over the walls. Otherwise, why would they be crawling around that empty space? Now it makes sense. And why wouldn't crawling creatures create a nest? It all works out. So, as I promised to myself, let's make another version today, so we'll have at least 3. But I'm really happy with this idea right now. Pretty much, I wanna keep using this whole situation, but maybe look for different poses, different angles, different stuff. Okay, this one is more of an epic kind of look, and I think it's asking for a vertical canvas, actually. I think she really needs to be like in the center for this one. What I really like about this composition is that we can push the widow further away, make some of the kids much bigger due to the perspective, yet still having her as the main spot in the composition. And the aerial perspective will be perfect for her black dress as well. Like, it's really cool. And what I also like about this version is how we can experiment with the amount of epic. The setup allows us go very epic. Like, I turned her face like this upwards, and maybe like this one of the black holes of the nest sort of show like a halo, and all the poses and everything immediately kind of reminded me of my very old pre-YouTube painting I did called Evolve, but of course very different as well, especially in terms of meaning. So yeah, I'm not sure about this part being like this. Generally, it looks pretty fortunate this way, I would say, but like something's not enough about this. Just a lot of kids. Could there be something else? I think I should maybe remove some of the kids from over here. Maybe like a kid who has that dress on his shoulder or something. I wanna see more of that dress, like it keeps on going. Like this horrible black milk of life she's spilling all over them. That's kind of cool. Maybe more of it in here as well, so the dress can really play its role. Yeah, that feels a bit more interesting, a bit more applied, because really felt like something's too uniform about just kids thrown around in this bottom area. Okay, well, what do you know? Actually making yourself work on 3 versions gives you some cool ideas. Forgot to add a little bit of these spider webs, strings, whatever. Because these kids, they don't fly, they hang. Something like that. Maybe not that repetitive for the final version, but yeah. Really feel like we could mark in this idea with the nest for this version as well. Just, you know, a little bit pushing for the idea of like that part of the picture being so dark that your eyes need to adjust first. You start with looking at the widow and the kids at the bottom, and then you start seeing that the ceiling is covered with these holes and there's more very dim kids showing up pretty much with just their gowns. Well, this was cool. What do you guys think? Which version do you like the most? I'm actually, as I'm looking at these right now, really can't completely decide, like, yeah, it's actually hard. I don't even know. Well, I would add more aerial perspective behind the widow here because she's really disappearing, but wouldn't say that I would choose this version after that, like that. I kinda like the angle on this one a lot, but the kids, like, I like the angle on the widow, not so much on the kids, I guess. In here, I like the angle on the kids and on the nest, but the widow angle is very flat. Maybe if we would, like, turn her a bit more so we would see her from the bottom, that would make it maybe really cool, actually. But then we have this version that maybe makes the story lose a little bit of its practical context and pushing more towards the epic, but maybe that's exactly what I always wanted, and that's why I never settled with any previous versions, because I wanted to make much more out of it, and this is exactly what it takes. And we'll always be able to tone it down a bit, just with little tweaks to the pose of the widow. If we want to make it a lot more grounded, just tilt her head downwards. So she's doing this, but not looking whatever, you know, I'm a prophet kind of pose, and looking downwards and actually being involved with giving the meat around. That will immediately tone down the epic part, but I'm not even sure that I would want to do that. Maybe I want to keep it exactly like this. It's really cool in that sense. Would maybe tilt the widow a little bit over here, so yeah, so she would be like looking for that weight balance, center of mass thing, because the bucket is heavy and she's like perfectly vertical. It would make sense that she would tilt a little bit over here. So that's one thing that I would change a bit. And the rest, I really like the dynamic perspective on this guy and the good look at the ceiling, at the widow from the angle as well, while also not really going crazy with the angle. So that's cool. I think this is really good. We might play around a bit with like all these kids, like exact positioning, but even this one kind of works, especially, yeah, the main benefit of this particular composition is that we introduced this black river of the dress in here. Like the horizon line is somewhere around here, and in here we're like looking at the ground like this, and it's like we're looking at the river. It has this dynamic feel to it, really cool. I think we're going with this picture, being cautious with the amount of epic in the picture, how much do we want it to be just iconic, or how much we want to add that practical actual storytelling to the picture, so people wouldn't just look at it as some kind of epic, whatever, something amazing going on, and actually get involved with, like, this is an actual situation. That's an interesting balance, and I want to have it. Yeah, I guess this final version. It's ridiculous, like, I drew this one, and I went, well, this is working really well. I'm gonna make myself draw another one. Like, I can see how this is a bit of an extreme angle, so let's try another one. Tried another one, like, oh my god, I'm going with this one for sure. And like, I told the whole thing, like, I came up with the nest and everything. And then I just pushed myself to make the third version, and I went like, well, let's go with a crazy positioning. Like, literally, the widow is positioned at us like this. So I started with that, like going, okay, let's just add this weird angle just for the sake of having another different version, and I ended up liking it the most. Like, I didn't know that I'll end up having such an epic vertical composition. It all was completely improvised. How cool is that? Thumbnails, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, this is it. Tell me guys what you think in the comments. Choose the version, but do know that I'm choosing the third one, the final one, the fourth one really in the picture. I think we found our new and hopefully final version of the Black Widow. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Oh man, how cool is that? Also, this was pretty handy. Forgot about using these when I'm working on the desktop setup. And this worked out. I was using this literally through the whole episode. I guess an episode on this is coming sometime soon as well.